Hello, good morning, and welcome to Tenerife. It's a little bit cloudy today, and maybe that's quite fitting because we're going to be talking about type 2 diabetes. So, for this session, I've done quite a lot of research. Over the last 4 years, I've actually listened to a lot of podcasts and read lots of articles about health issues because health was my primary motivation for going plant-based in the first place. So it's something that really interests me. One of the most prevalent lifestyle chronic diseases at the moment is diabetes 2. And over the last 20 years in the UK, the number of people suffering from diabetes 2 has actually increased. It's doubled. So there's a huge rise in number of people getting type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is insulin resistance. So the insulin is being produced, but the cells are not allowing the insulin to enter. And it's widely accepted that the reason for this is because the cells become blocked, bunged up, full of fat and other materials that doesn't let the insulin in, which is why obesity is one of the biggest risk factors for diabetes 2. And then we have to come back to, there are some really quite shocking statistics and some details about type 2 diabetes, and maybe it's a good time to just look at these quickly before I have a little rant about why all this is happening. So in the UK, the headline stats for the UK are as follows. 4.7 million people in the UK have got diabetes. In the USA, it's 34.2 million. In the UK, coming back to the UK, at least 10,350 people in the UK have end-stage kidney failure because of their diabetes. Someone is diagnosed with diabetes every 2 minutes. More than 1,700 people have their sight seriously affected by diabetes every year in the UK. More than 500 people with diabetes die prematurely every single week. The dramatic increase in obesity is the main reason for the huge increase over the past 20 years. In addition to this, diabetes can also cause heart and blood vessel disease, nerve damage, kidney damage, eye damage, slow healing, hearing impairment, skin conditions, sleep problems, and Alzheimer's disease. And as I mentioned before, obesity is one of the leading risk factors. So this is serious. This is really a serious disease, and there is some good news, and I am coming to that, which is obviously why it's part of this course. But first of all, I just wanted to mention why this is happening. And the food companies spend a lot of time and effort and money on trying to create the perfect combination of fat and sugar, because this perfect combination of fat and sugar, which is effectively what Burger King does, what McDonald's does, and all these other fast food outlets, but not just those other, in the supermarkets, it's also full of convenience foods that are all trying to combine this to get this perfect balance between fat and sugar that appeals to our reptile brain. We in hundreds, thousands of years ago, when we were nomadic and roaming the plains of Africa, that combination of fat and sugar would be so rare that when we actually came across it in nature, our minds would light up because this would be a massive reward. And of course, sugar and fat in moderation are good. But what's happened is the food companies and the fast food outlets have manipulated this desire, this reward system, to create ever more addictive, fat-filled, sugar-filled products that we are basically addicted to. And it's making people overweight. And when the food companies have made their billions out of all these awful, unhealthy foods, then the pharmaceutical companies move in to not make us well, to just manage the symptoms. When you turn up at the doctor's surgery with type 2 diabetes, diet might be mentioned, but the focus is absolutely on getting people addicted. Well, I think that's fair to say, to get people dependent on drugs basically for the rest of their lives. I heard that in the USA, the food industry is worth $1.2 trillion, but the pharmaceuticals industry is worth $3.2 trillion. So for me, it's clear what's happening here. The food companies are making us obese and giving us type 2 diabetes, along with a whole host of other chronic diseases. And then the pharmaceutical companies are making trillions in not curing us, but just helping with the symptoms, keeping us dependent on drugs for the rest of our lives. It's a good business model for the pharmaceutical companies and for the food corporations. So, yeah, I think it's disgraceful. I think that it needs to be mentioned a lot more in the media. But unfortunately, the media get their sponsorship from these same companies, so that's not going to happen. But the good news is you're on this course, so you're going to learn some slightly different approaches to handling type 2 diabetes. So the good news is that plants, that moving to a plant-based diet can certainly prevent the onset of type 2 diabetes, often can be used to treat type 2 diabetes, and it's even been shown in several cases to actually reverse type 2 diabetes, something that the traditional medical community would regard as being impossible. So the power of plants is quite astonishing. I think one of the reasons is because when we move to a plant-based diet, we automatically ingest fewer calories. So if we're overweight and we're obese and we've got type 2 diabetes because of that, by switching to a plant-based diet, we automatically cut out a lot of the fats and sugars that we were eating previously. There are other reasons as well, because plants actually help. We are born to eat plants. At the moment, and this point in history, we're eating far too much meat for lunch, meat for breakfast, meat for dinner, meat for every meal. Whereas meat was also something thousands of years ago was something that we probably wouldn't have been eating that often. It probably would have been a once a month occasion. Maybe we found a carcass or we killed an animal. But the mainstay of our diet would certainly have been vegetables. So we're not made to eat meat and dairy in the quantity that we're eating. So it's really quite, it shouldn't really come as a surprise to us that so many people are getting type 2 diabetes. So what's the power of plants? Well, research suggests that vegans reduce their risk of diabetes by 78% compared with people who eat meat on a daily basis. So Dr. Michael Greger actually wrote that type 2 diabetes is almost always preventable, often treatable, and sometimes reversible through diet and lifestyle changes, which also means exercising. And people who eat a plant-based diet have just a small fraction of the rates of diabetes seen in those who regularly eat meat. By switching to a healthy diet, you can start improving your health within a matter of hours. So it also, people eating plant-based diets appear to have better insulin sensitivity, better blood sugar levels, and better levels of insulin, which enables the blood sugar to enter your cells. So the evidence is really clear, and if you're suffering from type 2 diabetes, or you're worried that you're in the early stages and it's something that might affect you later, absolutely this plant-based diet that you're going to be moving to is, without any shadow of a doubt, the best thing that you can possibly do. You may be able to prevent yourself going on drugs for the rest of your life. I mean, I read the list out earlier of all those other diseases that are associated with diabetes too. So by moving to this compassionate plant-based diet where we are eating delicious food, and remember, this is not about, it's not about doing without things. It's about adding wonderful, new, delicious, nutritional food to your diet that's not only going to prevent type 2 diabetes, but a whole host of other chronic diseases such as heart disease, which was my main motivation for going vegan in the first place. So I hope that this has given you some motivation if you're suffering, or you're obese, or you think that type 2 diabetes is something that's affecting you. I've added some links at the bottom of this page where you can find some really interesting resources, and you can take it from there. Obviously, if you're obese or you've got type 2 diabetes, you might want to, expand your research because there's so much data out there. And this video and this page is really more about just opening the door for you and saying, look, it doesn't have to be like it's been. And there's a delicious world of vegetables and plants out there that will make you far more healthy in every aspect of your life. So, yeah, I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.